Deputy President anaambiwa na tanga. Waoni ile kazi anayoifanya. Kusema hii barabara itengenezwe, tuwekewe maji hapa. Nyuki anafanya kazi. Inji anasema nyuki anatangata. Deputy President rea kutangatanga. Hakuna shinda. Tanga ukifanya kazi ya Mungu, ukiwafanyia watu kazi vizuri. Wacha 2022 itafika. Hiyo mnasema kieleweke itafika. Mtaweza kuelewa mko jua.
All right, that's Bishop Kieleweke in Embu over the weekend when Deputy President Dr. William Ruto attended that specific service. And if you allow me, Trevor, to just go with the first question here, I'll begin with you, Bishop. Is it okay? Can a church support a political candidate? Can a church support a political candidate?
No.
Why not?
So that bishop was wrong. Let's start from that.
No, let's interrogate that. I don't think it was a support to the president, because I think in context, all of us were preaching on that Sunday on the issue about praying for leaders in government so that we can have peace and sobriety in a country. And we got even the prophet Amos about where leaders are, doing corruption. And we encouraged the congregants and the whole church in the whole world were on it. What happened there, in fact, I was alerted by one of the good persons here in this house, that, have you seen this? I said, no. So I said, I want to see it in context. I said, was the DP in the congregation? Did we hear him? No. So I said, Bishop Kieleweke, I called him. And he said, yes, in the context of teaching the congregants that here is an officer of government, and who is charged with the responsibility of deputizing the president and has to carry out the mandate that was given to him by the nation. Whether people say he's corrupt or whether he's good or not, that is what we need now to discuss about leaders and what we call the list of shame, if they are. But I said, he's encouraging him. People say that unatanga sindio? For doing what? Government services. You have come here in Embu to be with us, all right? Now, if that is the case, I encourage you to do the good work you're supposed to do. But come 2022, come 2022, we'll distinguish who is saying the right things or the wrong things.
Isn't that right there a political statement?
No, it is.
Because it clearly says kieleweke,
yes.
There's a tanga and kieleweke.
It is a political statement made by the bishop on that day. But I'm saying, if we all look at what was the intention, did we capture the intention by the bishop, what he's saying in the society? And I thought maybe he was using Matthew, the example of Matthew, where the tax collector, he seemed to, he's meeting the tax collector and he said, would you be my follower? Politicians come to the church. Should we then throw them, because the society, and it's not proven, have vilified them, and they said they are collecting taxes and the taxes are not reaching the revenue office? Would we then throw them out in the congregation? I thought what the bishop, firstly, was to see the positive side of it, that here is a government officer. Much as the people are saying you are tanga, you are the Matthew, I am looking at the good that you are doing to the nation as an elected member and an officer of government, all right? But then the second comment is, yes, the bishop would not have said about the nuances, the languages being used by the politician, tanga and kieleweke. That he roped himself in politics when he mentioned those names.
All right.
He should not have used it.
He should not have done it. Okay, Dr. Wandia, what do you think? Doesn't this, and Bishop is bringing a very interesting aspect. We should not judge. There's the issue of Matthew. We cannot be the ones to say that you're the only ones who are allowed in church. But doesn't that give the perception that the church is okay with ill-gotten wealth?
I think it does. The problem of the Kenyan church, at least from my perspective, is that they've taken the agenda of the politicians. Politicians have set the agenda, and then the church have decided to restrict themselves to that agenda. So they use the language. You see, even up to the language, they are borrowing from the politicians. So they have to craft their own language and their own agenda, so that when the politicians come to church, they say, yes, Mr. Politician, you're here, but this is the agenda of the people. This hospital has not been completed. This road is still not done. So he shouldn't be getting into the conversation of politicians, which is not a conversation anybody else is included in except themselves. So the problem is people talking among themselves, and then you're entering a conversation in which you do not belong. That's the mistake the church is making, and they need to broaden their mind and set another agenda.
So if the problem is not the church being involved in politics, is that the church allows politicians to set the agenda and not the other way around.
Yes.
So Joy, should the church abandon politics then?
The church is politics, and politics is the church. I mean, politics was born, brewed, and served in church before it even became part of national life, because church was there way before the days of the Pharisees, and they are the ones who are running together. It sees out together. So this dalliance between church and politics didn't start today. It's been there ever since. And the people who serve in churches come from our communities. They have an opinion like the rest of us. Some of them even vote. Some of them don't, but some of them even vote. And many of them hold an opinion for or against or otherwise. But I do join issue with what Dr. here says, that when you let politicians come and set your agenda, then what you say gets lost in translation.
Right.
Like the angle that Bishop was bringing out earlier now makes me think, okay, maybe if we didn't just have a WhatsApp clip, maybe we listened the whole sermon, we would have understood in what context he was talking about the bees and the flies. But now all we have is that little 1.5 minute snippet. Sometimes there's something that is lost in translation. But that said, I think in our society today we have a major problem where the point that you made earlier about the ill-gotten wealth. I mean, I'm part of a church, and I'm very, very active in church. And I sit on the board of the Evangelical Alliance. And sometimes I feel a bit insulted when the implication is that the money that we're using in church is what politicians bring. By the time they come, there's a building, there are pews, there are programs. There are people who regularly support the church because they come every week. Man turns up one Sunday in a year. How is he supporting the work of the church?
Right.
Let's put this in context. They are coming trying to score bonga points because they're seeing a bunch of people sitting and they think they're going to make a point or two. Maybe it is the politicians using the church. Now the conversation needs to be had. Should the church allow politicians to use them? That's why we talk about giving them the pulpit, giving them the microphone. So there's the angle that we have to, because when somebody comes to church and they drop an offering, you're not going to go through the notes and tell them, you know what, here, take your money back. You're not going to do that. But to give the implication that the only money that churches are using is the one brought by politicians is, I think, unfair, because there are many people who worship every Sunday morning and who regularly commit their resources to support the work of ministry. We cannot insult those people that the money that only the politicians bring is what is worth it. And that said, not everybody who comes to church and drops an offering is that clean themselves. If we do an investigation, maybe half the people sitting on our pews are bringing us ill-gotten wealth. How are we to know? No, I'm the church now.
No, in the church. But David, you want to jump into this before I bring in Bishop?
You know, Trevor,
This is the country that has enjoyed leadership of the clergy in political times because those leaders pursued an ideology. They did not pursue political personalities. This is the country that was blessed with the late David Gitari, a country that was blessed with Ndingi Mwananzeki, a country that was blessed with Timothy Njoya. This very country was blessed with Henry Okolo because they were in pursuit of a political ideology that could transform the lives of the country. They did not care who will spearhead that political formation that would create a new dispensation.
But is that the situation today?
That is not the situation today. I want to say, because Bishop Rotich would make a great lawyer. I'm not going to run away from the fact that Bishop Kariuki openly endorsed the deputy president. And is that right? I don't think it is. I would have loved if Bishop Kariuki had stood up and said, Kinoti, endelea kukamata hao watu kabisa, because that is pursuit of an ideology that tries to ensure that we have a country that's rid of corruption. Where has been the voice of the church when our values have dwindled? I remember ahead of the election, I wrote a piece on my Facebook page and said that in tough times I have seen two men of the cloth who have stood up for the truth, who did not have any biases, and that was Bishop David Oginde and Bishop Olesapit, the current serving clergy. And I am a Seventh-day Adventist, just in case you think either of them are my bishops or church leaders. They are not. Because at that time, they were able to look at President Kenyatta in the eye and say, this is not the way we are going to go. And they looked at Raila Odinga and said, this is not the way a country is led. The pursuit of political ideas, you cannot delink church from politics. The question, however, is, have our clergy continued to pursue political ideologies that transform our lives? The answer is no. Rather, they are all absorbed today in trying to please people who will bring the greatest tithes. And remember, because I'm a Bible student, born and bred and raised in a Christian home, when people had come to give in church, Christ said, of you here who gave, the one who gave the least is the one who gave the most.
Because that's what she had.
Because she gave over her all. Listen, you cannot mock God in giving. It is not about who has the greatest display of words of cash. Because at the end of the day, the Lord knows the intention for that money. Is the political money taken to churches with the intention of service for Christ, or with the intention of wooing voters? What is the intention of the giving? Because if it were for service, there wouldn't even be need for declaration of the amounts given.
Wow.
Bishop.
And I would like to, I like the challenge, but I would like to peg my discussion on his intention. Who has the plumb line or the vetting machine to vet his intention, our intention? Who has that vetting machine to determine on the grounds of the church that the politician that is coming and you who is a congregant has the intention, good intention, or the mind of God?
Who is to be the judge?
Who is to be the judge? And therefore, I will not disparage this discussion to mean that, yes, the politicians, the people that God created are that bad when they come to play politics. Politics is about us. Politics is about our lives. But we must distinguish, is our politics good? It is a service delivery politics? Is it a servant leadership politics? Or it is selfish politics? What we have in Kenya is not politics at all. It is politics that was said bad politics. And we need to clean out, we need to cleanse it. And the cleansing point is when we have these moments, the challenging moments like this one, are good for us. Even the point that you saw in Embu, for me, is a learning point for this country. And we are now analyzing and we are saying, was it right? Was it good? Is it in support of a leader? I would like Trevor, give us a list of shame in this country. Tell us, so and so has corrupted. He has corrupt money. By the time he comes to the church, I will not go on television and say so-and-so has corrupted money. I will talk to him in what we call internal forum. My responsibility is not to go to the television and announce. And I don't think even Ukulu, they did not say this, you who are seated here, go, you are the president. No. I think it is also incumbent on us to protect life. Just as we are saying about the school, it can collapse. I cannot go and stand and say, you, Margaret, somebody called David, you stole yesterday. No, I reclaim, I go for the lost sheep. In these circumstances, I think there is one or two people in this country that are going to suffer because of our vilification. And I'm not saying the persons you are talking about. Why don't we then have a list of shame and have me go with this list of shame? If I know he's a member of our congregation, my duty as a priest and as a bishop to say, yesterday I got this information and this is what I do. How much did we do before the election that you people don't know? We went, even those that come out, and I will not pride myself for what I contributed. There are moments that people did not know, but we walked as priests within the back, like what is happening here. There are people who are controlling this discussion, and they are not known. It is only Ombija and our dear lady and ourselves. But work is being done. So I would like that our discussions, yes, we must look at the context in which Bishop Paul in Embu did say ABC in the presence of the DP. Can we now move as a community church and discuss with the DP and tell us, and maybe if you wish, tell us what is it? And I want to ask the pastor, the DP, what is it that when everybody talks about you, they seem to raise eyebrows? What is it? So let's, as a church now, evangelize that area so that we don't, on next Sunday again, have another similar incident. Okay. So I think we have a duty, just as we said about the school. We have a duty to police, and I think the church's role here in Kenyan in politics is not to play the politics, but be a political and be not the judge, but the conscience. To point out what is wrong and point the direction that is right. Let us all go the narrow path.
I have to take a quick break, but when I come back, I'll come back with Dr. Wandia. And we've spoken about something in terms of policing as a community, but there's also that idea that the congregation want the politician to say something. So should the church conform to the people? Should the people conform to the church? But before we get into that, let's see what you're saying on 224222 and Citizen TV Kenya, Trevor Mbija as well. Let's bring them up and see what you're saying online on our SMS line as well. The hashtag is Daybreak. All right. William Lay, Seyo West, SCK, that's in Eldoret, and he speaks in Kiswahili. This is where the rubber meets the road. He says, kanisa inapasa kuheshimiwa, siasa kando kabisa. Na kemea makasisi wanaokubalia wanasiasa kusimama kwa madhabahu. That's the podium, Zinzi, in case you're...
Wow, Trevor. You don't say who you are and where you're watching, but you say the church ceased to be an icon of morality when it got commercialized. The moral decency, decadence rather, in what institution is even worse than out here?
All right, let's see what else you're saying. Gugi from Laikipia says, church and state goes together. In essence, the church has the moral authority to police the state political affairs, but without partiality. All right.
Gupson, I hope I've pronounced that right. You're watching from Nakuru. Good morning. You say it is indeed an unfortunate event in this modern society where even in the so-called God's altar, we practically witness immorality manifest itself right from the so-called clergy, trickling downwards to the congregants, the same clergy whom we look forward to for divine intervention and hence guidance.
All right, let's see what you're saying on Twitter. But first, one final SMS. Stephen Avoka from Kakamega says the church leaders have become too greedy and can therefore not hold the morals of the society.
Okay, still sticking on SMS, Abel from Eldoret, you say the initial mother churches still have the moral authority, but those small and individual owned churches which are sprouting at every corner are driven by greed.
Okay. Dr. Joe Murioki says you must distinguish between church and Church of Jesus Christ, which exists within the church or general Christian movement that is perfect and without blemish. I see Dr. Wandia shaking her head.
All right, don't say who you are, but you say, and I quote, the church holds a moral responsibility but cannot serve as a judge. It will not punish criminals but will condemn evil. The government should do its part. The church has always been involved in partisan politics.
All right. Okute from Nairobi says, no, the church of today has forgotten its role. Instead, it's playing the role of KRA, collecting tax from people and teaching them lies. Oh, wow.
Let's take a look at now Twitter, hashtag Daybreak at Citizen TV Kenya, at Trevor Mbija at Zinzi_K. That's how you can find us. Balume J, you say the church in Kenya is a playground of drunkards, politicians, robbers, and so forth. Everybody wants to use the pulpit for their own motives. The church has lost its place in society, and this is encouraged by religious leaders whose job is to get money from people.
Oh, wow. All right. Ayogo 17 says it doesn't. It has been eroding morals the more since the inception of prosperity gospel.
Mwigai, you say God will always remain to be God no matter what the church is doing. The society should put their trust on God, not the church.
All right, that question again is, does the church hold the moral authority in the society? 22422 is the SMS line at Citizen TV Kenya, at Zinzi_K, and at Trevor Mbija. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We're back in just a bit.